Welcome to a different type of episode in our Pokenomics series. This episode is going to be focusing on an entirely different game, the game of Pokemon Unite. Although it shares some mechanics with the mainline games, Pokemon Unite falls in the MOBA genre, the multiplayer online battle arena genre, similar to games like League of Legends and Dota 2. In this game, it is a top-down action game where your goal is to defeat your opponents, take down wild Pokemon, and ultimately, the winner is decided by whoever scores the most points. You get points by carrying wild Pokemon, but you also gain experience. The higher level you are, the more experience you have. You get better stats, you get new moves, upgraded moves, and all the things that make you more likely to win a fight. Today, we're not going to be talking about individual skill and all these things which make Pokemon Unite such a fun game to play, but rather, we're going to talk about the larger macro decisions, the decisions that rule just the general strategy of how you play the game, and how the philosophy of approaching the game can drastically impact the outcome of a match. This leads us to the finals of the most recent large tournament of Pokemon Unite, the May finals in the Pokemon Unite EOS Cup. The game starts pretty simple, with the central area Pokemon just taking the farms easily there. The top lane Pokemon are again going to take these Apoms as they walk down to their path. But wait a minute, how is the bottom lane already here? The top laners are still attacking their Pokemon, and yeah, the bottom lane has 3 where the top lane only has 1, but surely there can't be that big a difference in their clear time. Well, there actually isn't. The bottom lane actually just left behind an Apom. As they were running down the path, they strategically hit an Apom and just walked past it, because they wanted to contest the middle farm first. You see, farm in the middle of the map is more valuable than farm on your side, because not only do you get the value and experience it provides to you, but you're denying that value from your opponents as well. This means that basically the Pokemon in the center are worth twice as much as Pokemon that are far behind on your side. That's why, even though they're only level 2 instead of 3, which is where they'd normally be at, they're rushing to try and contest this Adino. Now let's roll the fight forward. You may notice, of course, that the players on Game & Gladiator, the Indy and Zugrug, are not actually attacking the enemies. They're only swinging at this middle Adino. That's because, at this early in the game, KOing opposing Pokemon gives relatively little experience compared to KOing Apoms. If you look at the top lane, you're going to see this type of thing happening a lot, where Lutano, the top lane Pokemon for Game & Gladiators, he's just farming the enemy side of the map and going to get his scores in it. Before this, actually, OG was doing this as well. He was on the left side, taking these Apoms and soaring. That's because they have an item called the attack weight. What the attack weight does is not only do you get experience for scoring when you hold an attack weight, but you also get bonus stats, you get bonus attack. That means that the top laner is going to be more powerful the more they score, up to 6 times. So they're looking to score as much as possible in the early game. Now, you'll even notice that they're level 4, which is the same as the jungler in this case. They may actually end up being ahead of the jungler for a good part of the game, just because of the amount they're scoring during this time. Now, luckily for Utano, he does get away here. If he did get caught here, it'd be really unfortunate, because not only would he be down for his respawn timer, but he'd also end up giving a pretty sizable amount of experience and also points to the enemy team. Now you can see the bottom lane is going back to take this Adino. This is because, if you look at the map, there's basically no experience left on the board. This is the same as this Apom on the other side. The Crawdons in the central area have already been taken. They're being taken by the bottom laners. The ones on the top are strategically left alone for the junglers. They get to level 5. So right now, this is the only wild Pokemon that's really available for people to take at this time in the game. After this, you may notice that since there are no wild Pokemon, it's really inconvenient to start farming them. That's why little skirmishes like this are going to start to happen. Now getting a KO on your opponents is super valuable compared to farming. So they're going to try to go for as many sneaky KOs as they can, and they're also going to try to not get killed themselves, which is why you see them running back to their base after every fight. Now, this right here is one of the most important interactions of the earliest stage of the game. This is the first beat. Whichever team is able to secure the majority of these is going to have a strong advantage. But let's look at what's happening here. Lutano's at level 4, almost to level 5. He'll probably get level 5 if he secures a beat or 2. Toon, their jungler, is only at level 4, just barely even at that. The enemy jungler is at level 5, so they have a strong advantage in being able to take as much of this experience as possible. They also sent the Hoopa up, so it's a 3v2 as well, so they're going to be pretty easily able to just clear out all these bees. Luckily for Game of Gladiators, the Lutano does get one, and he's able to take out the enemy team's jungler. Do you notice now that he also has the jungle buffs, as well as being almost halfway to his next level? At this stage in the game, KOs are extremely impactful. He's also able to get an extra score off this as well, after getting the berry to heal up a little bit more. Now, if you take a look at the map now, we see the central Corvus are coming back up. The Audino spawned here, Crawdont spawned here, more spawns around. Now there's a plentiful availability of farm. The jungler is going to go back to the central area. We're going to go back into the phase where nobody really wants to fight each other. We're just going to run around trying to secure as many wild Pokemon as possible. You may see also that the Hoopa, despite being substantially lower level than both opposing Pokemon, is still going to follow them around and just try and take a last hit as much as possible, just to slow down their ability to gain experience. This is by far the slowest part of the game. Every team is just trying to secure farm from the enemies and try not to die, because dying at this point provides a pretty substantial experience benefit to your opponents, especially if a lower level Pokemon like Indie Bear there on the Hoopa, if they KO a level 5 or 6 Pokemon, they're going to immediately shoot up the levels. Now, since this part of the game is reasonably boring, we're just going to fast forward to around 7 minutes and 20 seconds for the most important fight. Alright, this is perhaps the most important time in the entire game. That is the first Dreadnaw. In 90 seconds, spawning in this bottom path, Dreadnaw is a crucial objective when it comes to securing the final one, Zapdos. It provides a massive shield and boosting of experience to every member of the team that secures it. The team that's able to take this will be high level, so they'll be pretty easily able to win the fight, steamroll past their opponents, get a bunch of scores in, and have a very strong advantage in basically every team fight from then on. There's also a second round of bees, which is why you see Lutano is still on the top path trying to get all the experience he can. Both junglers are also farming up to try and get to level 9 as soon as possible. Level 9 is when they get their Unite move, which makes them super strong in the upcoming fight. So let's see how these teams position. They're going to fight over that bees. It looks like the orange team, IX Gaming, gets the vast majority of them. So they're high level. They're going to look to move up as far as possible and push Gaming Gladiators back towards their own goal. Alright, everybody's positioning up. And now look at where everybody is. Both top laners are still in the top lane. The junglers are both still going towards the top lane. Both Hoopas are going to actually put up a portal here to try to send their junglers down. But wait, the top laner goes down for Gaming Gladiators. The jungler is about to go down for IX, but Toon has stayed up here and he's trying to KO OG from IX to prevent him from getting a couple more scores in, get a couple more stacks of that attack weight in before the next fight. And he's actually going to be able to take this KO. This is super important because it means that essentially IX is down a person. It's still going to be a 4v4 in here, even though Game Gladiators has left their jungler up here to keep scoring and keep farming. Also, we can just look at Lutano's level. He's been winning so much in the top path that he's at the same level as the enemy team's jungler. So he's able to pretty easily control this fight and push all of IX away from the goal. This means even though it's a 4v5, they're able to pretty quickly run back here and secure basically all of the space. They're pushing them all the way back to their own goal, and they're going to be pretty easily able to take this Dreadnaw without any real contest. Again, who puts a portal down? Now the jungler's here. It's essentially unwinnable for IX Gaming. They're just going to look for a steal here. They don't have a real chance of winning a fight. That's why you see their Absols are running to the top lane. The junglers are clearing his jungle. They've essentially given up this objective. And now that they have all of these points, all this experience, they're going to rush up to the point, try to score as much as possible. But they're importantly not going to actually break this goal. They're not going to score all the points it can hold. That's because of what breaking the goal would do to the experience. So right now you'll notice where the experience is spawning. Here there's a Audino up here. It's barely in frame there, but also on the map. Audino spawning in the bottom left here and bottom right. It's basically evenly split between teams. When the front goal breaks, Audinos are going to start to spawn in this area. They're going to start to spawn backed up across the far wall. Very easy for the opposing team to secure. That means that when you break this goal, you're basically giving up experience and giving your opponents free experience to farm for the rest of the match. That's why you'll often see teams try not to actually break these front goals until super late in the match to try and make sure they mitigate the amount of experience their opponents get. This is an interesting choice from Lutano. The breaking that top goal there, as I mentioned, it does start spawning Audinos up here, but it's because of this crucial Rotom objective. It's not as powerful as Dreadnaw. What it does essentially is it's a mini Zapdos. When you secure it, it will walk down to the opponent's, the closest opponent's goal, and it will break it essentially, making it free to score points, and you cannot be stopped while you're scoring points. This is pretty crucial for actually building up enough points before Zapdos to survive losing it, but it also just provides so much space, because opponents have to deal with it, that you, since your opponents are all now focusing on the Rotom, you have free reign to just take all the farm you would like to. This is actually a pretty bad moment as well, because Rin is going to get knocked out. Rin is going to get a KO there, using his Unite move, but he gets a little bit greedy, tries to go for these Bs without any real support, and gets caught out by the combination of Zagrug and Toon. The Venusaur is going to run in here as well. He's really unable to do anything. And now they can just leave 2 people up here to try and chip away this Rotom. And as you'll notice, instead of staying with the team and trying to fight this Lucario, Toon is just going to go down and start farming until Lucario comes to him. Again, look. Game Gladiators, they just finished killing this, securing this Rotom. It's going to start walking down the path, and you see there's 2 members of the opposing team who just have to deal with this Rotom at all times. There's nothing they can really do about it. Zagrug can just stand up here, take a bunch of damage, it doesn't really matter, he has so much health, he basically can't die, and just force them to leave people up here to be aware that this Rotom could go in. This means that they're not going to be really able to fully contest this bottom fight here. And Dreadnaw's coming up in 17 seconds. They have to do something about this Rotom, or else they're just going to let Zagrug get so many free points in that their attention is basically split. It's going to be really hard for them to both fight in the bottom path and in the top path. This is another very important moment. Retsu just used the Hoopa Unite. Hoopa's Unite move is one of the strongest in the game. Not only does it give a portal that all your teammates can come through to immediately teleport to the bottom path, but it also gives Hoopa a massive upgrade to both its moves. It gives him Hyperspace Fury, which is a super long stun that does immense damage, and Sighting, another huge damage move. But you may notice that Gaming Gladiators has not used the Hoopa Unite of their own. They're actually saving it, and they're just letting Toon go down here. Now, Indiebear just used hers, but Indiebear used the Unite so far after Retsu's that Indie is able to just wait, and by the time Retsu's is out, they will still have their Hoopa Unite, giving them a pretty strong advantage by the time the Dreadnaw is actually going down. What Gaming Gladiators is doing is, they're not trying to go for kills as much as possible, they're just playing around the space they have, making sure that they have the highest chance of securing this objective. Now, this site's going to end up actually as about a standstill. Asuno barely gets away. If he actually were died there, it'd be a very different story. But since he's barely able to get away, and Gaming Gladiators are all low health, they have to reset, Goof is going to go down here, and since they're both down so many players, they have to just give up the space, regroup, retreat. They'll fight again later. Gaming Gladiators at this point, they think they have it. They have 3 members here. It's all that's left is this Aegislash. I think they cannot secure it, and they get very unlucky. Rin is able to get that last hit. But look at what just happened here. They were able to get the Dreadnaw, yes, Orange Team was, but 3 of them died afterwards. Importantly, they died, and now they're at a higher level, so they gave more experience to Purple Side, the Gaming Gladiators, when they died. This means that even though the Orange Team won the Dreadnaw, they're still about the same, if not behind, on experience. Moreover, since they have 3 players who are all dead, just look at the amount of farm on the map. There's so much free farm, and since Orange Team is down 3 players when Purple Team is about to have all 5, Purple Team is going to have a massive advantage in clearing all of this farm. So, although it looks like Orange Team actually went out on this fight, yeah, it would have been nicer if Purple Team had won that Dreadnought, but they'll still take this, because they have a pretty big advantage in being able to take all this farm on the map. Now they're choosing to break the bottom path again, because there's only, well, realistically, a minute and 20 seconds left until Zapdos. So this farm is only going to reset maybe once, so it's not as impactful as taking the farm in the middle. Since they already have all this experience, they might as well just get the points in, extending their pretty massive point lead, which gives them a pretty good hedge against Zapdos not going their way. So another key thing here, Rotom just came up, but nobody's actually going to fight over it. It's at 2 minutes and 46 seconds, and nobody really cares about this Rotom, just looking at the map. That's because Rotom is best actually in the last 2 minutes. It's best when it overlaps with Zapdos. You know how I mentioned earlier that Rotom is dividing their attention, making it harder for them to fight both at Dreadnaw and keep the Rotom from going in? Well, that same thing applies to the Zapdos fight. If your opponents have to watch their top goal zone and be prepared to fight in the middle over a Zapdos, it's going to be really hard for them to do both at the same time, and so you're going to be able to split their attention and take a really advantageous fight. Right now, basically, every Unite is being thrown. Every team has been saving all their Unites for this moment. They're going to have a massive fight right before this Zapdos. Both of them intend to just immediately start attacking it and rip it right off the bat. So you'll see there are 4 members of IS Gaming alive. All 4 of them are just hovering right in the middle of this pit. We see the tank player and support player for Gaming Gladiators, that is the Blissey and the Hoopa, just sort of hovering around outside trying to get picked off. And Lutano is running in here, using his Trevenant Unite, knocking everyone up. They're just going to all stand in this pit and just throw all of their moves out. Now, you may notice that actually Zapdos isn't going down that quickly. They want to make sure that they have the best chance to secure it possible. So now that Zapdos is low health, let's watch what's happening here. Retsu is just chipping away at this Zapdos. He's trying to do as much damage as possible. The Absol is swinging at the actual players of Gaming Gladiators. He's trying to knock them out. But Gaming Gladiators, every single member of their team is actually attacking the Zapdos, not the players of IX Gaming. They realize that it doesn't matter if you kill the opposing team. If you get Zapdos, even the players, even this Hoopa and this Aegislash, who were far away from the fight, are going to have enough time to run all the way over and score. So even if everybody in your team dies, if you get Zapdos, it's still totally fine, because you're able to knock out all the goal zones. Since you already have such a big point lead, it's going to be hard for your opponents to come back anyway. And even though they get lucky and do end up actually being able to kill every member of IX Gaming before dying themselves, they were essentially guaranteed to get that Zapdos, and that's why they have such a commanding position going into this game. And of course, IX knows how just horrible this point lead is. Even if all of them scored 100 points, they wouldn't be able to make it back, so they're just going to forfeit this match in the coming moment. While that's happening, let's talk about the key takeaways from this match. It's always important to consider what you're actually doing, whether you're playing a video game or just like in real life. What are the benefits of what you're doing versus how much time are you spending on them? For example, in the Zapdos pit, the players of IX Gaming, they clearly just saw, oh, we want to kill the opposing team. After all, it's a competitive game. That's what you're immediately driven to think. However, Gaming Gladiators realized that killing the enemy team is sort of irrelevant to how you actually win the game. You win the game by putting points in goals, not by KOing the entire enemy team. They realized that, well, we don't really need to focus on the other players if we can just make sure we get the last hit on the Zapdos. That's what their strategy was, that's what their focus was, and that's why they were eventually able to win the game. Also, throughout the entirety of the game, Gaming Gladiators demonstrated a better knowledge of how to farm. They were always doing their best to make sure that when there was farm available, when there were wild Pokemon, they would always go out of their way to make sure their opponents couldn't get them, and try to clear as many as they could without dying or doing any other mistakes, without trying to actually engage the enemy team. It's always an important lesson to make sure you know what your goals are, and make sure that whatever they are, you're focusing on what your goals actually are instead of sort of what they appear to be.